What is Cafe Mocha? Cafe Mocha is experts, celebrities.
What's up? This is Belbit DeVoe.
Yours truly, Idris Elba.
This is Fantasia.
This is Invo.
This is India Ari.
Hey, what's up? This is Brandy.
Music and features from a woman's perspective. Intriguing conversation, espresso, the Mocha Mix. So much more. All from a woman's perspective.
What flavor are you, baby?
This is Cafe Mocha.
How do you go from a job in corporate America to raising your son into a superstar? Bow Wow's mom, Teresa Caldwell, tells her story. Cafe Mocha begins now. It's Cafe Mocha. Angelique, Lonnie Love, Yo-Yo on the line. She's one of those people in the background that built one of our favorite young artists. And many of us don't even know her name. Author and manager of her son Bow Wow, Teresa Caldwell. Thank you for joining Cafe Mocha.
Oh my God, thank you guys so much for having me. I appreciate you guys.
I want to start with sort of the obvious question. Every parent thinks that they have the most talented kid in the world and he's going to be a whatever, at what point did you realize that Bow Wow, was something special and had the potential to, become a huge artist?
Well, to be totally honest, when he was born, I felt like he was a little weird. I was like, I'm keeping it all the way 100, guys. But I was like, this baby is weird. Like he's been here before. I'm an energy person. I'm a spirit person. I feel like we're connected. Our energies are connected and our spirit is connected to one another. So I'm like, you know what? This child he's advanced. Like he was just different. So as he got older, I was like, okay, this child is a star because he can remember, his memory was great and he was a little entertainer. So he used to entertain me and my girlfriends all the time. At first I thought he was going to be a comedian, to be totally honest. I was like, he's going to be a comedian because he's funny. I never thought that he was going to be a rapper until cause I used to listen to gangster rap, right? Back in the day. And so he would remember the lyrics and he would sit there and say, after police coming straight from the underground. And I'm like, oh, well, you can't say that? What? And I'm like, and he's like, oh my God, NWA, he knew that whole album. I was like, oh my God, so he was different. He was different.
What advice would you give to parents who see that special something in their child and to maybe get them involved in something? What advice would you give them?
I would give them, this is what I'm telling you parents. If you feel like your child has that gift, I felt like my son had that gift, and I did a lot of reading. I made sure I started calling people and was like, you know what, my kid is talented. My kid is talented. And I put in the work. I got him with another rapper to write some lyrics. I put together a package. I sent that package to every label. I would call the labels and I would be like, okay, who is your A&R person? Who is this? I did research and that's what I did. So even I'm doing it now with his daughter because his daughter is a star.
Wow, that's great.
It's not easy really to manage your own child's star. How difficult or how easy was it to manage Bow Wow?
Well, it wasn't easy. I think what I struggled with was I didn't want to be the type of mother who her son looked at as, you're my manager. You understand? So, and one thing about me, guys, I never wanted to be Bow's friend. I was your mother and I was your manager. I separated the two. So he knew when I was in manager mode and he knew when I was the mother. I never wanted to be his friend. And another thing, for me, is I'm the type of person who I'm very independent. I never wanted my son to take care of me. And a lot of people don't know this about me, but I'm the one that went to probate court. I'm the one that said, here, you guys handle his money. Because I never wanted him to grow up. And, and I was young and you seeing all that money, and I'm not going to lie, I might have, took a couple million and bought me a crib. You know what I'm saying? I just didn't want, I'm just keeping it all the way 100. And I never wanted my son to grow up and say that I took from him. So I have always worked. So when I quit my job in corporate America, like I was making 6 figures. So when Sony wanted me to quit my job, I went to Sony and I was like, oh, hold up. Like, what happens if my son don't make it? And I done gave up my 6-figure a year job. Mm-hmm. So I made sure in Val's contract that Sony gave me a certain amount of money until my son turned 18. Wow. Because he was young, and you know how it is. It's hard, like, to get those type of jobs, especially back then, to where you 20-some years old and you making 6 figures. Like, that's hard.
Right.
So I made sure I protected myself. So I never took anything from my son. Like, I always worked.
Wow, it's Cafe Mocha. When we come back, we're going to talk to Teresa Caldwell about her new book, I Once Was Her. This is Cafe Mocha.
Sit tight. You're only minutes away from more Cafe Mocha.
It's Cafe Mocha. I'm Angelique, along with Lonnie Love and Yo-Yo. On the line, Teresa Caldwell. She's Bow Wow's mother. She's Bow Wow's. Are you still his manager? Former manager?
I am his former manager. I no longer manage him anymore.
And she's got a book out called I Once Was Her. What's it about? Tell us.
Okay, I Once Was Her. It's pretty much like, my life, me growing up as a little girl, me growing up, homeless, is talking about like how I was homeless at a young age. I had a child at a young age, and I was in very abusive relationships. It talks about watching your mother, be abused by men, and then you end up being just like your mother, and you start dating the same type of guys you saw your mother date. So I talk about that. I talk about, me being a girl who wanted the love from her dad. I feel like as a father, I feel like that's the first man that a girl will ever love. So I talk about I didn't have that and how that affected me, growing up. I talk about me managing my son. I talk about our relationship. I talk about, the struggles that I went through. I talk about how I came out of those different struggles in my life. And I talk about, like, I once was her. I talk about, just being taken advantage, just everything that we go through as girls and women. Like, I once was her. I am no longer her. And you guys can be no longer her either. But I fought through all of it. I talk about how pain is temporary. Sometimes God take us through different things in our life, and it could be painful, but we don't stay in that pain. We have a choice. And I chose happiness. I fought through that.
Teresa, what's the one story that really gets to you that was the hardest in your book, I Once Was Her?
Whew. Oh, the hardest story in my book I talk about is, and it was really hard for me to write about it, was the relationship that I really, really wanted for and I craved with my father. And I never got it. I got, my father, I can't even remember a time when my dad called me by my name. Teresa, my dad used to call me Blackie. So that was my name. So, and I remember, and that was hard because I wanted to prove to my father, that I was more than just a Blackie. I was more than that. And that was really difficult for me to write. It was hard even to this day, like, and I think about all those things. And if he would have been a good father, there's a lot of things in my life that I probably wouldn't have gone through.
He called you Black as an insult, or was it a nickname?
I think he probably called me that like a nickname, but I was dark. Like growing up being brown, like I'm brown. Like that was, like I was dark to people. So, and I used to tell my dad, like, don't call me that. Like, don't say that. Like, so he might have thought it was a nickname, but it really didn't, it didn't feel good to me. And I used to tell him that all the time.
Teresa, it's so incredible to hear you talk about, things that really matter the most to you and put it in a story. Why do you think it's so important for women to tell their stories, to write it out for others to read?
Well, for me, I can just talk about me. I don't know about other women, but for me, it was healing. And for me, it was more like I feel like, God put me on this earth for a reason. And I feel like for me, if I can help one girl, yeah, that means the world to me. One girl read my book and I can help her.
And it's important for us to share our stories, Teresa.
Most definitely.
And that's why I wrote a memoir. I tell these ladies on the line, write your story. I tell our listeners, even if you just jot down a couple of things of what you're feeling every day, being in a pandemic, Did you find it freeing once the book was done? Did you feel like something had lifted off of you?
Oh my gosh, guys, listen, it freed me in so many ways. I felt like it's done. Like it's out there. I felt free. And I'm like none of us are perfect, and I'm always working on myself, trying to make myself a better person, a better mother, a better friend. So I'm always going to be, it's like a never ending thing with me. Because I have a kind heart. I always want everybody to experience what I experience. With my girlfriends, I want everybody to be happy. I want everybody to, what I'm saying? Like, I'm just so giving, and a lot of times, I get taken advantage of, and people be like, why do those people take advantage of you? And I just feel like, that's just who I am. It's not about them taking advantage of me. It's about I helped someone get to or learn something that they always wanted to learn. And if I can give them the knowledge and different things that I've gone through so they don't make the same mistakes, and that it's okay, because, God, I look up to God. God is the one who judged me. I don't care about what other people say about me. That's the type of person that I am. So it's not about all that. And people look at me like, girl, you just be doing this and doing that. I'm like, you know what? I did it, and it is what it is.
The name of the book is called I Once Was Her, by author and former manager of Bow Wow and his mother, Teresa Caldwell. Teresa, thank you so much for hanging out with us today.
Thank you guys so much for having me. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.
Standing in solidarity, celebrating 10 years of radio from a woman's perspective. It's Cafe Mocha.
It's Cafe Mocha. I'm Angelique, and on the line, she was literally the first nurse to get the COVID vaccine at University of Maryland Medical Center. Please, joining me now is Nurse Shawn Hendricks. How are you, Shawn?
I'm well. It's early, but I'm
Good. I want to start with just how you are as a nurse, because I know that, you're handling COVID patients, and this has been going on since February, March now. How are you personally doing in handling just the what's happening?
So I'll tell you, it's definitely been stressful, especially since we've made it through the first surge, that started in March. And then, we had a little downtime, but now the numbers have definitely started to rise again, and we're going back into a major surge. And we have made it a priority for our nurses, because I oversee many of the biocontainment areas that care for COVID patients, in addition to a new modular care unit that we just built to take care of additional patients, because we know that the numbers, we're thinking they're going to exceed the numbers that we had before. And so we want to make sure that our nurses and, myself, that we continue to also, have self-care. So we've created Zen Rooms within the hospital, times, where they can sit back, take a breather, take a break, because that's important. That's important.
Yeah, it feels like a lot of doctors and nurses are getting burnt out. So you're calling them Zen Rooms? They could just chill out zone?
Absolutely. Because they're working long hours. You know, nurses work 12-hour shifts. So they're pretty much working 7 a.m. to 7:30 p.m., 7 p.m. to 7:30 a.m. And, you know, could possibly extend past that sometimes. And we were, again, during the first surge, going nonstop. So when many individuals were working from home, we didn't know what that was because we were, you know, making sure that we were taking care of our priority, which at that time was the patients. Because, again, you got to think, there was no visitation. Right now, we have, put those restrictions back in as far as visitation goes. And so many times, you know, as nurses, we are the last hand that a patient may hold. We're there, you know, in their last hours. We try to connect the patients with their families via iPad, but it's still not the same. So we, again, made that a priority to make sure that we sit there right at their bedside to be there for them when, you know, their families couldn't be.
It's Cafe Mocha talking to nurse Shawn Hendricks. She is the first nurse at University of Maryland Medical Center to get the COVID vaccination, which we're going to talk about in just a moment.
Sit tight. You're only minutes away from more Cafe Mocha.
It's Cafe Mocha on the line. She's the first person at University of Maryland Medical Center to get the COVID vaccine produced by Pfizer. Shawn Hendricks is on the line. She's a nurse and has been caring for COVID patients since it started. Shawn, we all saw you get the shot. We saw the pictures. We saw the video. How you feeling? You got any side effects?
Actually, I'll say this. I am feeling well. Contradictory to everybody that's, you know, been a little afraid. I feel well. I did have a little soreness in my arm, but that is a side effect of any vaccination when you get your flu vaccination or any other vaccinations that you get. So otherwise, you know, I'm fine. And actually, nothing against the flu vaccine, but that one was more painful than the COVID vaccine.
Okay, so I know that you are on social media and with what little time you have in the spare time that you have. And I'm sure you've seen all of the people out there, oh, I'm not taking this vaccine, oh this, oh that, oh the other. How is the medical community going to convince people that this is safe and that we should take it?
I think that, we have to, really understand that it's now been authorized by the FDA and CDC. And the FDA could be one of the most stringent process approvals in the world. And it has been, authorized to be given. And then mRNA, the vaccine, that's not new. That has actually been being studied by pharmaceutical companies and researchers for over a decade now. I think that people think that it's been rushed, but the only thing that was really rushed was the administrative barriers that usually, take quite a bit of time. So those things were rushed, but the science of it wasn't. So, there have been a lot of people working really hard on making sure that we can have our communities and the people at large vaccinated, because I think that is the only way that we're going to find our way out of this pandemic.
I interview people for a living. I've talked to tons of doctors at the beginning of this. They were like, oh, the shortest time that it ever took to come up with a vaccine was 4 years, and that was for the mumps. So the idea that between March and now, this vaccine was developed is for a lot of people, difficult to understand and trust.
Yeah, and that's what it is there, right there. Understandably so. I understand their concern. However, we had to come together. Again, the vaccine isn't new. It's just new on the market.
Shawn Hendricks, RN at University of Maryland Medical Center, the first at the medical center to get the COVID vaccine. Thank you so much. Please be safe. And I definitely want you to check in a few months again so we can get updated on how everything's going, okay?
Absolutely. It will be my pleasure.
Thanks, Shawn. Happy holidays.
Standing in solidarity, celebrating 10 years of radio from a woman's perspective. It's Cafe Mocha. Here's your dose of espresso. Strong, hot news now.
This is The Espresso. Ma Rainey's Black Bottom hits Netflix, and it's Chadwick Boseman's final film. Here's a taste of his performance.
I'm gonna get me a band and make me some records. I done give Mr. Stutterman some of my songs I wrote, and he said he gonna let me record them when I get my band together. I just got to finish the last part of this song. I got style.
Oh, everybody got style. Style ain't nothing but keeping the same idea from beginning to end. Everybody got it.
Everybody can't play like I do.
The film is adapted from a play by August Wilson. Ma Rainey is played by Viola Davis, whose career was launched by August Wilson.
August was that one writer who saw me. And when I say me, I do mean me, but I also mean people like me. To me, he's a muse.
And Denzel talks about his role as executive producer.
What's left for me to do professionally? This is perfect. It's not hard. It's a joy. It's an opportunity. It's a privilege to shepherd this material. You know, pressure's not on me. Pressure's on the filmmakers.
Make sure you watch Ma Rainey's Black Bottom on Netflix. That's The Espresso.
Stay close. More Cafe Mocha is on the way.
Hi, I am Rashawn McDonald, host of MoneyMakingConversation.com. The Cafe Mocha Swag Award is a celebration of black men making a difference in our community by empowering others to reach their life goals. They can be civic leaders, people in business, activists, celebrities, and everyday dads. The Cafe Mocha Swag Award honoree this week is C.J. McCullough, making a difference. In 2016, this Portland Trailblazer basketball star opened the C.J. McCullough Dream Center, an innovative learning room outfitted with new computers, books, art, and learning tools for the Blazers Boys and Girls Club.
They go through the year program, and once they finish, I think 2 to 5 students are in position to receive a job that pays up to $70,000 a year with no degree. It teaches kids, you know, from inner cities, kids from underprivileged areas and underserved community areas, how to code, and then it provides them with an opportunity to make a living for not only themselves but their families.
The Cafe Mocha Swag Award represents men who have strength, whose wisdom is assertive, and who is genuine in their spirit.
Cafe Mocha wrapping up the show. This is just a reminder. Things are worse than ever out there. Please wear your mask, or better yet, just stay home. And I know we're all tired of this. We want it to be over, but it's not over. In fact, it's getting worse. And all it takes is one person to catch COVID and spread it to the family. So please be safe.
Have yourself
Cafe Mocha is a production of Miles Ahead Broadcasting in partnership with Compass Media. Executive producer Sheila Eldridge. For comments, booking, or more information, visit cafemocharadio.com.